All right, now to the other big story we're following today. A 30-year-old mystery now solved in Hamilton County.
The coroner says they have finally identified the remains of a man recovered from the home of suspected serial killer Herb Baumeister. That young man, Alan Livingston, vanished in the summer of 1993. Just a few years later, police recovered the remains of 12 men from Baumeister's Westfield property. And then ever since, Livingston's family has suspected that he may have been one of those victims.
In fact, just last year, it was his very family who pushed investigators to take another look at all these remains and try to identify them. Alan Livingston's mother, Sharon, submitted the sample that this week finally made the match back to her son. The Hamilton County coroner called this a moment of clarity in what has been a heartbreaking investigation.
We identified a missing man that was reported missing 30 years ago, whose remains were part of 10,000 remains that were burnt and crushed. And we identified that person. Honestly, yeah, there were some high fives. But it very quickly turned to the stark reality. We had another murder victim. And then there were some tears.
Yeah, understandably, such a mix of emotions. So, an answer, finally, after all these years, for Alan Livingston's mother, who is now in her late 70s and battling terminal cancer. But the coroner says there are so many more remains that need to be identified in this case, and they need the public's help to do it.
John Duran will explain that, and we'll hear from Alan Livingston's family tonight on 13 News at 6. And this is just one story out of so many other families impacted by the crimes Herb Baumeister committed. Police believe he killed at least 25 young men and could be behind the disappearance of many more.
Yeah, police honed in on Baumeister back in 1996 after his own son found a skull in the backyard, and that's when Baumeister drove to Canada and took his own life, adding more hurt to these families who will never get justice and are left clinging to the hope for answers. So you hope that these other families involved will get some closure as well in the coming years. Of course, this is a case we've been following very closely for decades. You can read up on the years of investigations, the twists, the turns, the developments right now. We've got it online at WTHR.com.